Alright, get set, go.
Okay. Get to my little state.
Welcome, web people.
Yes. We're here, and I am still, as most of you have seen that watch us on the web, I have a little trouble with my little slow computer.
Yeah.
So I am trying to get my little websites up.
Yeah.
My little website.
And as typical stuff, the online we'll probably start streaming there a minute or two prior to when we add the cable audience.
Exactly. So you get to see us for about a minute longer.
You're special.
They do. Yes. That's what we like to think anyway.
And you are.
Yes, actually. That's true.
And you are
That's
special.
True. Yes. Our very first audience was our web audience.
Yes.
See?
And you know what? And I think we'll feature tonight. I'm going to pull up the Google Analytics and do some of the areas. We haven't done that in a while.
No.
And I think some of the web. Some of the cable might find that interesting.
Exactly. Ooh, and I just went to a complete blank screen.
Your system hasn't have enough virtual memory.
Wow.
Huh. In my case, it's just real memory. I don't have enough. So you know.
Okay. Well, let's see if we can pop something else back right here before we start with our cable.
Yeah, which we are probably just about getting ready to start with.
Pretty soon,
right?
About a minute.
Yeah.
About 30 seconds. And there's actually a couple of interesting things locally and actually statewide and actually nationally. Elton John had some interesting things to say, if you saw that on the web today. If not, stay tuned. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about it at the end of the show.
We've got an Elton John feature, huh?
Yes, an Elton John tease.
All right.
Yeah. So,
and here we go. I'm actually, I guess...
Yeah, we're about at that time.
We'll do our little map overlay here.
Yes, exactly.
And what we're doing is...
and I think our television audience is with us. Yes.
Great.
Welcome.
Welcome to the celebrated nightly news
of Calaveras County. And as you can see...
And beyond. Yes, here we go.
Yes, our beautiful little sign here.
Our poor producer wants us to see
Calaveras County Nightly News.
Nightly News.
Exactly.
There we go.
Exactly.
We've done our obligatory Vanna White.
That's right. That's right. This is John. And I'm Sarah, and we're back for another night talking about Calaveras County news.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Now, this is one of those nights, we might as well say up front,
it's a little
this was a relatively flat news day.
Yes.
I mean, big items that top the news are there's students going to Calaveras High again. Their third day.
That's
See,
right.
That is a big item.
School is back in session for part of the county students.
Yeah.
And also... we had an early release report come out from the Sheriff's Department today.
Really?
Yes, or an early release report. And in case those of you who have not been following what's going on with the Calaveras County Jail, which we talked about yesterday. You take that urgent call. And for the first half of 2007, the Sheriff's Department has released an early release report. And what it is the statistics of people who have been released early from the Calaveras County Jail because of the population issue there.
Right.
So, what's interesting is that 400 of 1,420 people who should have been in jail were released early.
Wow.
And usually that means they're just showing up saying we want to come in.
Right.
And they're not allowed to come in.
And I think we may be having some technical issues again.
We have technical difficulties.
Okay.
Can they not hear us?
What we're hearing is that there isn't audio. That's what we're hearing.
You can't hear me?
And I think one of these things may be on the cable side because
yes.
we have audio here.
We have audio on this side.
We're showing audio on this side. So
we'll just go ahead and talk about the early release program.
Okay.
And 29% of all people who should have been in the Calaveras County Jail were released early, which is a pretty high percentage.
What percentage?
29% for the first half of 2007. And I have to say that...
And I'm going to tend to a technical thing.
Okay. The two people of the Sheriff's Department who actually compiled the report were Jim Macedo and Debbie Parsons. And there were some interesting numbers as far as how many people were rearrested during that time period. 75 individuals, or 19%, were rearrested of that 400, which it's a pretty high percentage. 19% is pretty high. 21 inmates were rearrested once. 37 inmates were rearrested twice, and remember, this is within a 6-month time period. 12 inmates were rearrested 3 times. 2 inmates were rearrested 4 times, and 2 inmates were rearrested 5 times, with 1 inmate was rearrested 6 times within that 6 months. So someone was rearrested essentially once every month during that six-month time frame. So these numbers are sort of interesting when you look at the jail situation and really the need for our county to have a new jail. And those of you who didn't tune in yesterday, what happened yesterday is the Board of Supervisors approved a general obligation bond to go on the November 6th ballot to fund a new jail facility as well as a 911 dispatch operations center.
See with these broadcasts,
yes.
The cutting edge is we wear lots of hats.
Yes,
and I guess
we do.
We are having some audio issues on cable, so Sarah's going to take solo, and I'm going to play I'm going to play little tech guy here over here. So if
he's going to be the little tech guy.
So if I have my head down looking at my computer, it's not because I'm ignoring you.
That's why. Now, part of the bond presentation yesterday, the Board of Supervisors had actually included a survey of 500 county voters. And all over the county, they were geographically spaced out, and they interviewed 500 people. Data Trends, which is a company out of Santa Rosa, interviewed 500 people in the county, which was actually a very accurate and somewhat random sampling of county residents to find out what they thought about the county jail. And they also asked other questions about what they thought about taxes, how to fund the county jail, county departments. And it's interesting because what happened is the county residents had quite a lot to say, and they have these quotes at the end of the report as to what the county residents said. And did they quote? Oh, they quoted. What I found was very interesting about some of the data that was released in this survey was that 9 out of 10 voters in the county own property, which is a very high number. And of those 9 out of 10 voters, they have owned that property on an average of 16 years.
Wow.
Which is a lot.
Long
time ownership. And actually what was also interesting is the longer that people had been residents in the county, the more likely they would be able to know what was going on with the jail situation. But I wanted to talk about the quotes. The quotes that were given to these researchers when they were asked
Are you sure?
about... Yes. Yes. And as far as alternative funding ideas for the jail and the 911 operations center, people had some interesting quotes. And one of them was, with all of the residential and other construction taking place, funding needs for a jail should have been and now should be the responsibility of contractors besides taxpayers. Contractors have destroyed habitats with golf courses for the wealthy. Whoever builds these shopping centers and other buildings should take the responsibility for the growth and progress. So that's sort of an extreme one side of the spectrum. And there was another person who said, make sure we get what we pay for should the bond pass. Another one said, vote for money per acreage, not per parcel, because some people have a lot more than others. So that's a way to actually gather more revenue.
Yeah, but on some of these things, if it's bare, vacant land in the middle of nowhere, as opposed to a house on the edge of a golf course,
it's a little different.
Well, you would think.
Yes, yes. So, but these are people's opinions, you know,
yes, that's true.
And they can go from one extreme to the other extreme. And they actually said, as far as the alternative funding ideas for the jail, that there needs to be a complete restructure of how they, meaning the county, spend their money. And another person said, don't raise taxes, just re-budget to spend where needed. If jail space is an issue, don't put people in jail for drugs, do house arrests, fines, and look at letting out drug crime people, which is sort of interesting because there is, actually our jail has a lot of drug programs and that type of thing to help people get off drugs. But it's, you know, when you think about it, in Calaveras County, there are a lot of people who have a lot of opinions and actually are quite well versed in what's going on. And also, before fees are discussed, cutting costs and using existing money wisely should be considered. The public as a whole doesn't have deep pockets. Spend the money as if it were your own. And also, underneath the alternative funding question, try and create funds through other areas other than taxing property owners. Now, this is taxing property owners is a long-time contentious issue in the county.
Right.
We hear this every single time because property owners, they pay the solid waste fee, they pay their regular
right.
property taxes. So, but anyway, and this person continues, frankly, I haven't seen the board do much with the funds they have already received from property owners. So that was an interesting little aside.
Don't you think a little bit on this is there's a disconnect between how people, well, I guess, think that the county government has been fiscally responsible with their money, and if they've gotten their money's worth in the past.
True.
Separate from...
There's a little bit of a hangover.
Yeah, I mean,
actually.
but separate from, irregardless of all that, do we still need a jail?
Yes.
And I think the problem is if you're looking at a lot of this stuff, at least as I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that, yes, there's been some waste. Yes, there hasn't been quite as much... fiscal responsibility, how we would like it, that goes without saying. But
that's government.
The problem is if we don't get a jail built, you're going to have other issues as this report
absolutely.
that are going
to
overreach. Because I think, yes, we're going to have to get the jail done and then go deal with
the other things.
What you feel about county government afterwards.
This rearrest after early release, 19%, 75 of those people who were out on early release were rearrested within the 6-month period. And that's only 6 months into the year. That's only half the year. 29% of people were on early released during the first half of 2007. So that is, those are actually high numbers. When you start to double that, you can feasibly double that for the entire 12 months. So you're talking at almost 60%. And that's a lot of people. But it's people actually had their comments about county departments as well, county department issues. And one of them was they should straighten out the building department. It's inefficient.
Right.
And that department has had its issues, as most people in the county know. And let me see what else I marked off here. Improve the community development department. There's too much conflict in that office. Tighten our belts everywhere and increase the sales tax. Also, expense accounts need to be regulated within all government county agencies. Too much taxpayers' money disappearing through our county bureaucracy. I don't know how many of our department heads actually have expense accounts. I will actually comment on that one.
Okay.
Because sometimes there's a public perception if somebody comes from out of the county or has the impression that other counties have large expense accounts, they assume that Calaveras County does too, and that's not really the case.
Not the case.
And another one was don't spend any more than what you can take in. We're all on a budget and can't live in the red. Government shouldn't be in the red either. And I don't think very many people would disagree with that comment. And also, that's about it, actually. And then tomorrow, we'll talk about Board of Supervisors comments.
Yeah, and there's some interesting.
There's some interesting
comments. I mean,
yes, there are.
Some pretty interesting stuff.
Yes, and there's also a section on community involvement that we'll talk about, growth and development. I mean, we can actually do this for the next 2 weeks.
On the sales tax revenue one. One of the things is Calaveras County is operating at a disadvantage, irregardless of whether you believe we need to develop big box or whatever, but the total retail sales volume in Calaveras County
is very low.
Dwarfs compared to Anador and also for Tuolumne. So if you look at sales tax receipts per capita on the two counties beside us, there's a huge disparity.
Oh, there is. Absolutely.
And I
Absolutely.
think
Because we are primarily a property tax-based county. And it's because we don't have the retail base here in this county.
And don't you think that's some ways causes issues too, to where if you have fluctuations in the real estate market and things like that, the number of transactions or projects completed, that affects your...
It affects everybody. It becomes a downstream sort of effect where it affects all the service industries and businesses. And most businesses, I would venture to say, are small businesses here that are owned by families.
It's true.
It's a mom
and if you
pop,
look at this
situation.
And I thought this was something that a lot of people from outside of the county might be interested in, is that if you're looking at this county, there's a lot of people that not only are they self-employed, some of them may work. Most people up here do 2 or 3 different
They do
things.
2 or 3 different jobs. That's why you see one person will be sitting on a CCWD board, and then the next thing you know, they're in a PR position for Ebbets Pass, and the next thing you know, they're in a they're working over in Tuolumne County.
And I think it makes this a little bit interesting because the rub on the small counties and like Calaveras County is it's just the good old boy network, and there is some of that. There is some of the families that have been around.
But that is slowly going away.
Yes, but the other thing that's kind of interesting is if you live in a small county, the odds are that, let's take building, okay? Let's take the building industry. So if you work in the building industry, and if, say, there's 50,000 people in the county, and I don't know how many work in the building industry, but that's a fairly finite, group. You can't count them on one hand, but
it's a small group.
It's a fairly, probably percentage-wise larger than most counties work in that industry, but... the thing is there's been some comments on the that so-and-so's wife works in the building department, so he got a sweetheart deal on this or that, and some of that it's just that
it's a small county.
If you're in that industry, the odds are that you're going to know most of the people in the industry.
The government is the largest employer.
Right.
The county government is the largest employer, so there's the chance that you're going to know somebody.
Followed by like Big Trees Market, right? Or probably you think I'm serious?
Well, Calaveras Lumber, I would imagine.
Okay, yeah.
But we don't have the data on that, so we shouldn't be just tossing out these companies.
All right.
But I do know the county is the largest employer, so you're going to get some of that. Oh, somebody's cousin is in the building department when I go for my building permit.
Yes.
So you're just going to get that, and that's just small county living. And anyway, we should probably talk about Bear Valley.
Yes, the Bear Valley Music Festival. Tonight is the Pops concert, and we will be broadcasting at least one night from up there live next week.
Yes.
This week, as you can see, because I think on cable, you're probably watching us, and maybe we should have like subtitles tonight, because I guess you're having audio issues.
Yes.
What I was doing off the side is I did test the web feed, so the web feed is fine. So it is an issue with the connect into.
Yeah. So hopefully you'll come in just a minute.
Hopefully, we shall see. But if not, see, we're miming.
Yes, we're trying to. See, we're trying to look at you a little more tonight. That's right. Boston. It's not the Boston Pops, but the Bear Valley Pops tonight.
Yeah.
And actually, Bear Valley Young Musicians Camp starts next week, which is a fabulous. It's not an event, but a fabulous camp that actually runs parallel to the Bear Valley Music Festival. There's a camp that's on the shores of Lake Alpine, and it's for children, music students ages 11 to 17. They have to try out for this particular camp, and it's just absolutely fabulous. These young people are really talented. They work with the Bear Valley Music Festival, musicians that come in, and it's a fabulous opportunity. So, not this year, but if you have a child between the ages of 11 and 17, who's good at their instrument, wants to go to a camp next year, this would be, I would say, the camp to send them to. They're it's fabulous. It really is.
And also up at Bear Valley on this, I know we're about a few days away from all of our we'll tell you what to do stuff. But I thought it was kind of interesting is there's a free guided wildflower hike planned.
This Sunday.
Yes. So if you're up there...
Well, it's beautiful this time of year.
It is. And it's a nice thing where you drop about 20 degrees typically going up there, which a nice like
right
today's
now,
would be a really good thing.
Good thing.
And I'm perspiring more than usual because I don't like technical problems. Because we were so proud of ourselves that we had all of our little audio stuff all dialed in.
Dialed in yesterday.
And so now we lost all of it for cable tonight. Yeah.
Yes. But our web people can still see us.
Yes.
Also, Jenny's Kitchen, Jenny Baxter, our Martha Stewart of the Motherlode, actually has new recipes on the site. And she actually just returned from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, where she was visiting friends, and she brought home Elkhorn buffalo steak recipe and a Bondurant double cornbread recipe for us all to try.
Okay.
So, that's on the site.
That's way too highfalutin for me.
Is it? Well, you're a carbitarian.
That's true.
Yes.
No,
yes.
I will try that.
Well, actually, you would like the cornbread then, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Yes.
Very much so.
That's like natural carbohydrates there. And there's some interesting things going on the state front. Let me pull up my little slow computer page here. Obviously, the budget still has not passed, and there's actually some fallout. There's fallout from the budget, and one of the headlines that came up today was "Crisis for Poor as Medi-Cal funds end." In an emerging crisis for California's elderly and poor, all Medi-Cal funding will be halted this week to an estimated 500 hospitals throughout the state and 11,000 nursing homes, hospices, and adult daycare centers. Because the state just does not have the money to pay them. And until a budget is passed, they do not have the money to pay them.
Wow.
So, and child care is feeling the heat as well. But there's also, there's the issue of what the budget is, what legislatures are actually being asked to approve in the state budget.
Right.
And so there's just a lot of wrangling in the state right now. And an interesting aside, though, and I think I've referred to this before, is that legislative employees do not get paid when the state does not.
Do they
pass
try
a budget.
to make up for it? Do they make up arrears, or they just don't get paid?
They make up arrears.
They do,
but it's not on any sort of.
So they're probably like, okay, we know we're going to get paid at some time.
At some point,
so you move back in on mom's couch.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
The
poor legislative employees are still putting in 60 hours a week and not getting paid.
Hey, mom, we got more mac and cheese.
Yeah.
All right.
See, and actually, we only need 2 votes from Republicans.
2 votes.
2 votes. But I tell you what, it's a lot of spending, and you can't expect Republicans to keep on spending on ongoing programs. Yeah. And expanding, like the healthcare, expanding ongoing programs.
Right.
And some of them have come up with these fabulous ideas to take care of these ongoing programs, but they've been largely ignored. So, what do you do? Anyway.
Well, any estimates on when it'll get passed?
No.
What's the record?
I can't remember what the record is. When I worked for the state legislature, it was 6 weeks late, 8 weeks late.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
So
and that was a couple years in a row.
How far are we out now?
4 weeks.
Oh, only 4 weeks.
Yeah,
it's only a month late.
weeks.
No, that's not even.
But this was interesting, I thought. Now, those of you who follow San Francisco politics, strip clubs and gambling interests across California provided nearly 10% of the $455,000 that Assemblyman Mark Lano has raised in his bid to oust State Senator Carol Migden in next year's Democratic primary.
Wow.
Now, these two are interesting to watch, and they're both San Francisco Democrats. And that will be a very interesting race to watch. To say the least. Yes.
Yeah.
So, despite the fact the budget has not been passed, they're all out there campaigning, doing their little political stuff. So that's their job. That's their job.
And it's in this kind of endemic of politics right now, because all the interesting, everybody's all excited about the change in the Congress. But then if you look at the approval range, the approval ratings,
still dismal.
They're just dismal.
They're dismal.
I mean, just dismal.
The American public does not trust its legislative members at all.
And I guess, should we do a couple minutes on national?
Sure. You're doing the bridge falling?
Oh, yeah. This is just,
horrible.
and this this is one of those things, if you see the pictures of it, the entire span of 4-lane interstate bridge over the Mississippi fell in, collapsed.
Yes. Yeah.
During the evening rush hour when there's vehicles, tons of twisting and crashing into the water. It's just dozens of vehicles are scattered and stacked on top of each other amid the rubble. So
it's not a good situation.
It's so it's nothing more to say that you would care to hear from us. But
exactly.
It's just,
and I'm sure you'll find out a lot about that from the other news outlets as well. So, on to a little bit of lighter news. Elton John.
Yes, Sir Elton.
Sir Elton says we should close down the internet for 5 years.
And why does Sir Elton think we should do that?
Because he thinks the internet has adversely affected the arts. Because he said, Pete, instead of getting together and making music or pursuing artistic endeavors, people are staying at home and they're doing their little thing on their computers, which is stifling creativity and new artistic endeavors. So he thinks we should close down the internet for 5 years. How you do that, I have no idea.
So we're hurting Sir Elton here?
Yes.
I didn't.
This is definitely not an artistic endeavor.
That we were hurting Sir Elton. I had no idea.
Yes.
Oh,
and also, apparently, fans are upset with Beckham.
I think
David
they should
Beckham.
be. We talked about this a little bit before we went on.
Yes, exactly.
He has an ankle injury, but for the money he's paying and supposed to be the ambassador for soccer in the U.S., we think he should show up and wear his tiara
to the crowd.
And
they could pay us even $100 and we'd wave to the crowd.
Do the tiara wave. I mean, I think that's one thing that.
And apparently he's still getting paid his millions, and apparently it's a $250 million contract over the whole 5 years. Is it 5 years?
Yeah.
And he's not even showing up to the games because of the injury, and fans are very upset.
I think they should be on that because I think he should be showing up whether he can, do it or not. And also, this is for Amtrak riders.
Yes.
That if you're to try to get their approval ratings up and increase riderships, they're offering free booze.
Free booze.
Free booze on Amtrak. So there you go.
They already have the party trains,
so now
over in Torino. So I guess this is just an extension of that.
And I will read a paragraph. Amtrak is trying to gin up new business by offering $100 in free alcohol to customers on some overnight trains.
$100?
$100.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of money.
The National Passenger Rail Company is making an unusual offer to promote a new high-end service being offered on a trial basis for certain sleeper trips. Well, actually, they're just trying to put them to sleep.
Yeah,
that way
I guess so.
Yeah. Members of guest can get equivalent of $100 per person credit for alcohol between November and January. So,
that's quite a bit. And actually, in other travel-related news, apparently American Airlines is looking at putting Wi-Fi on their planes. But they will charge you for this service, and as you know, they almost charge you for your peanuts now.
So this is a difference in technology. One is the railroad is not offering Wi-Fi, but they're offering to get you drunk.
Yes.
Right? For free.
For free. But
we don't have Wi-Fi, but don't worry about it. You won't be worried about it.
You won't be worried about it. The airlines will offer you Wi-Fi for a cost and then charge you for your alcohol as well.
Yeah.
So apparently they're not releasing. They're just American Airlines is just in the testing phase right now, and they're not releasing the cost of this service until they get it actually operational, functional in some of their planes. So that should be very interesting. Yes. I think we'll just, I wouldn't take advantage of any of them, either of them actually.
Yeah. Now also come up today is a new fishing report. Okay? New fishing report for the Highway 4 corridor, and we also have one posted on the site for Maloney's as well. But this way, the North Fork of the Stanislaus was slow due to warm weather. This is our sports section.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay.
Be prepared to hike if you want to have any success. Bait casters try split-shotting crickets, inflated night crawlers, gulp eggs, gulp night crawlers. Lure casters should try panther martin spinners and repellas. Fly fishermen should have access using woolly buggers.
Holy moly.
And I think that's the first time we've said woolly buggers on the news, don't you think?
I think so.
It is.
Oh, yes.
Nymphs, hoppers, crickets, mayflies, and stimulators.
I'm not a fisher person, so I don't know anything about that.
Yeah. So if you're fishing, take your woolly buggers.
That's right. Okay.
Make sure you take your woolly buggers.
Yes.
Yes.
And hopefully our cable audience actually can hear us by now because it's weather time.
It is weather time.
It's weather time. Arnold weather. Tonight, mostly cloudy at a low of 66 degrees. Thursday, 20% chance of isolated thunderstorms at 92 degrees. Friday, sunny at 92 degrees. Saturday, 87 degrees in Arnold.
There we go.
Yep.
And also for Bear Valley. So if you're up there at the music festival, it is isolated thunderstorms, 20% tonight, low of 54. Tomorrow, a high of 80, low of 52 tomorrow night. High of 79 on Friday, a low of 51, a high of 76 on Saturday. So just really nice perfect weather.
Okay. And my computer screen has completely
frozen.
So I'll go over to Murphy's weather,
and
actually.
Murphy's. Do you want a lump? We'll do separate.
We'll just do them separately. Right. And it is hot. Thursday, 100 degrees in Murphy's. Thursday night, mostly clear at a low of 65 degrees. Friday, hot again at 100. And Saturday, a little bit cooler at 95 degrees.
You know, and also for Angels Camp, I think we're getting ready pretty close for our cable audience to clip out. And so we'll do our Angels Camp, San Andreas, Valley Springs. Right. These are all within a degree or two.
Yes, they are. So 96
degrees on Thursday, 96 degrees on Friday, and 90 degrees on Saturday. Nice, very nice.
Very, very nice.
Thank you much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Tomorrow I was looking at some of our web stuff.
Yes.
Now, this last week we've had 23 visits from Zurich, Switzerland.
23.
That's not random. That's not just one. You can get one, but 23 visits from Zurich.
We should say goodnight to our cable audience officially, though.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Exactly. And for our web audience, we'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow, right? As far as our
Zurich
numbers in Zurich and people who are visiting us. Bangor, Maine. We always get a little visit from Bangor, Maine. And it's kind of interesting. The web is a very different and interesting animal.
That it is, and fun.
Yes,
and thank you very much. And good night.
Thank you.